Welcome back to Les Schwab Tire Center's Outdoor GPS, presented by Fisherman's Marine and Outdoor.
Welcome back, everyone. We're joined in the studio by Caleb and what's your name again? Dishaun Berry, here in the studio from Get Hooked, a great organization that we've had the opportunity to help promote, help get out there for several years now here at Outdoor GPS, one of our favorite things to do each year. I mentioned earlier that it's a timing thing, right? It's a way that we can get this information out there, no matter which organization it is, right? To help others. Going into the summertime, now that we're done with spring, and there's so many ways that you can do it. Volunteers, though, that's the big one,
yes.
right?
Yes.
Volunteering is it's a commitment, number one. Number two, it's the best way to spend your time, especially with Get Hooked, is your own personal time. And then you're able to really get in there and understand what's going on. And I know that you get a lot of volunteers, but you can always use more.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
My biggest thing is my saying is be the change you want to see in your community.
Sure.
And volunteers are our biggest need. Not financial. We're working with kids who don't have that much finances. We're working with families who don't have that much finances. And so we take care of the financial part. We don't need donations monetarily. If you can send them, we rather you give it to an organization who needs donations. We're self-sufficient at this point. So the biggest need for us is volunteers.
Gotcha.
People from the community come out and being with kids, being in the community, being the change we want to see within the community, right?
Yeah.
And so the more volunteers we have, there's been events that me and Caleb have been there, and we're just the only, we have just a couple people for 20 to 30 kids, and you're running the whole entire time.
Right.
That's not intimate for the kids. We're just mostly managing, but when we can get 10 volunteers for 20 kids,
right.
It's a more intimate experience for them. They're able to spend more time with the kids. And those kids take those things and will have those forever. I can remember the times I was at the Boys and Girls Club, and we used to have $2 fishing trips.
Right.
I'll never forget that in my life. I'll never forget that I paid $2 to go on a fishing trip. And more so, I won't forget the people who were there doing that trip with us also. And so it's important for us to be in our community and volunteering. I think volunteering sometimes is tiresome.
Well, sure.
Yesterday,
time is hard.
Yeah. When we got up yesterday, I was deadbeat tired. We worked all week. I own a property management company. We work all week long, but we have to be there at 6:30. And I tell you, you're tired. But when you get there and you see those smiles and you're amongst the people in the community and fulfilling a need for the community, there's nothing like it. There's absolutely, it's addicting in the greatest way possible. And we are the beneficiaries of the smiles. And I just, like I tell people, I'm a vessel. I don't know how I do it all the time. I let God use me in the way that He wants to use me, and I show up where He wants me at.
Right.
And it's important to do that. It's important to, and whenever you have a seat at the table, to show up and be there for the kids, and so they have an image of what good is also.
Sure.
And then as far as our fisheries, there's so many changes in our fisheries all the time, right?
Sure.
Kids are the ones who are going to be making those changes in the next 20 years.
Oh, man.
And so,
and some could be dire.
And absolutely. And so when we take 30 kids to visit a hatchery, it's not, we're agenda driven, but it's to show the importance of the hatchery.
Sure, of course.
It's to show the importance of why that's there and why that's a good resource for us to have.
Sure.
And then they could take that and let that grow on them, and then when legislation and changes are coming up and people are voting and things like that, they can make those changes and because it's important to them.
And they can make it based off of what they've learned too.
Sure.
And have a vested interest in it.
If they haven't been exposed to it or have no idea of it, there's so many different ways that they could get negative information that absolutely impact what's going on here in the region. There's no question of that. Without hatcheries, we would not have salmon and steelhead.
No.
It's just that simple. Okay.
I mean, even stock trout.
I mean, really. I mean, we'd all be bass anglers, right?
Yep.
Which there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
But I ain't no bass angler, okay? No. It's just one of those things. But the kids need to be exposed to, especially live here in the Northwest. That's our heritage here, is salmon, steelhead in our rivers. And again, without hatcheries, they simply are gone. And those hatcheries do provide all these trout, a lot of these trout in these locations that you go as at the stocking program. So there's a lot that's going on there.
Yeah, and you talk about the stocking programs and the importance of hatcheries. Well, our event next on the 29th is to highlight what you can and can't eat out of the river, right? Because we know people go to the river, they're going to take their bucket and fill it up with stuff that they shouldn't be eating.
Right.
Well, the hatcheries are important because they're producing a fish that's way more healthier than something that's in the Willamette.
Sure.
Then there's other opportunities for them to do. So, again, we're not agenda driven, but we're common sense driven also, you know? And so it's just just a common sense approach. You know, a lot of people don't have the resources or the transportation to always go salmon fishing. So like you said, trout are available to them. I'm not a huge trout fisherman, but there's a lot of people who are, and they follow the truck around to see when it's going to be stocking the lakes and everything. And so, but that's a resource that comes from a hatchery. And so we should be supporting our hatcheries. And kids should know about the part that they play in us having the ability to go fishing. And so, like we took a stillhead that we got off the Washougal, and we did a dissection in there one day. We dissected the stillhead and let them clean it, and we showed them ways that, you know, ways that he could prepare it. These were all Pacific Islander kids, and so they taught us a lot also.
They did. A lot of them knew how to fish already. They spearfish a lot too.
They spearfish, and they knew how to prepare their fish, and they taught us just as much as we taught them.
That's pretty darn cool.
And so when we left there, we didn't want to leave. You know, our program ended, and I was like, I'll be back next week just to, you know, just to say what's up and play volleyball with you guys. It's these opportunities to have a person in the community come in and show that they care, that will change a life, and we will fill that spot. And, you know, I've taught my son that, you know, just it's not always about you. It's you get more from giving than you do from just always receiving. You know, it's nice to receive, but I feel more fulfilled from giving, and I think that's what I've tried to instill into him. And
you definitely have.
Well, I think that it's worked too. You have a hell of a son. He's done a great job.
Thank you.
I mean, not to fluff you up too much, but I've had a chance to spend some time with him. He's a good kid. Got great head on his shoulder, and that kind of takes me to the next question. You're much younger than I am. I'm like 33. He's half my age or less. With the generation that you're in now, I don't even know what that is. Gen X, Gen Z? No, I'm X. Z, millennial?
I don't even know.
I don't even know. It doesn't really matter in the end. But you're a younger guy. Are there folks that are your same age, that are in your same age bracket, I guess, that are out doing the same thing? Or would that also be a group of folks where you could go, hey, listen, you need to get involved as well?
Yeah, no, definitely. That's a great question. I mean, I would say that there really isn't, honestly. Like, there is a portion of people, but I would say that that's kind of on the outside of the inner city. You know, the inner city, it seems like there's not as many people that are involved in these outdoor activities. And that's why I think it's so important that we put these events on, because we want to teach these kids that don't have the opportunity to go do these things. I mean, that's the whole purpose of our foundation, is to literally teach these kids that don't have the opportunity to go outside. So to answer your question, no, not really.
Interesting.
Honestly.
How do we do that? I mean, if I were to say, listen, I want to focus on trying to get kids in those mid to early 30s or mid to late 20s involved, is there even such a way to do it?
I think that honestly bringing them to volunteer, maybe to maybe bring them to volunteer and to come do something like that, so that they can get hooked in a different way, you know?
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Because if they don't even know that they could do that, maybe. Maybe that's the way that you get them all involved. I mean, it's just super important. It doesn't matter, again, if you're 25 to 28 like me, or 100 like me. It's very important that you get involved, and it's super easy to do. We've been showing you the Facebook, the locations that you can go to find out the information. But for folks that just want it easy, what's the best way for them to volunteer?
You can message us directly. I answer all my messages. You can message Caleb directly. Like I said, we are available. We're a community-based organization, so we have to be within the community. And so you can get a hold of us. You most likely will see us in the community. You know, if you're out on the river, you can say hello to us. You know? And so, you know, even if there's mothers out there who, you know, I've had mothers who, you know, have reached out to me and say, hey, how do I get my son involved or my daughter involved into your program? Let's get them to volunteer. Because kids who, you know, are having trouble, so when you put them in leadership position, now they're responsible for someone else. They now have a responsibility to someone else besides themselves.
That's a great point.
And it's really empowering to watch these kids who've had issues be empowered with being responsible for someone else. And then you see it click and changes in their mindset of, well, hey, you know, I'm actually being a leader and someone's looking up to me. And that's important for kids to feel that. And volunteer.
It's a great way for them to grow up a little bit, for crying out loud.
Absolutely. And so you're responsible for someone else, and this is what this feels like. And so volunteering, I think, from what I've seen, he has a lot of friends who volunteer with us. Thank you to all of our volunteers.
Thank you so much.
You're so appreciated. But my son has a lot of friends who volunteer for us, and they're all in leadership. It's all leadership roles. When you know, we're working with the community, and they're looking up to you. These little kids their little eyes are looking up to you, you know? So be aware of everything that you're doing. Be as great as you can to them. Be the superhero that they don't have in their life.
And you never know, when you go walking around the Sportsman Show or wherever you might be, they're going to come by someday and go, hey, you remember me? And those are the moments that you end up remembering more than others. But our time is always too short, guys.
Always.
I know that we've tried to get as much info out there as we can. They need volunteers, and I love the fact that they're very upfront with the fact they don't need your funds. They want your help volunteering if you can. There's other organizations that maybe you can donate your funds to, just like we just learned a little bit ago from Jamie, Northwest Sportsman's Club, ways that you can help out that way. But it's very difficult to volunteer. They all understand. We all understand that. But it's one of those things that once you do it, I honestly think that you'll be back to do it again more and more in the future. So again, listen, guys, it's great to see you.
Always.
And hopefully we can get you back in here.
Always, bro.
Before duck season starts, so we can talk about other things as we go forward. And then maybe
We have the
duck
duck
line
hunt, though.
too.
I mean, that's, he actually went out for the first time.
I got
Really?
one. I got one.
He did.
Yeah.
He actually did.
We had crappie in here 6-8 months ago, whatever.
Yeah.
We should get everybody together and go out there.
Yeah,
That would be fun.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
I think that,
I got the
we'll make that
bug.
happen.
I got the bug. I wanted to go buy a new shotgun that day.
Yeah. I understand, man. Listen.
This guy's the fanatic, though.
I'm already thinking too much about it as it stands. All right, we got to cut to a break. When we come back, we're going to give you your Pike Mental reward numbers from this past week, and we'll make sure to line you up on what we got going on this upcoming weekend. We'll be right back.